We'll go to the first project, which is Newberry County Water and Sewer Authority, and that will be Mr. Brent Richardson, Mr. Don Franklin. This is for the Lake Murray water treatment.
Let's hope we can get our technology to work. There we go. I appreciate the opportunity to come before you tonight, and I want to thank y'all for your service. We'd like to offer our condolences to the families who've had a rough week in Newberry County. I was talking to Wesley earlier, and our condolences with those families affected. I'd like to start out tonight talking about the Lake Murray Water Treatment Plant, transmission main and pumping upgrades. I am Brent Richardson, and manager of Newberry County Water and Sewer. I'm here presenting on behalf of the Board of Directors. I would like to say special thanks to those who have been involved in preparing our submittal and presentation. That will be Daniel Quattlebaum, our assistant manager, Mr. Don Franklin with Black and Veatch, and Rick Farmer, Newberry County Economic Development. And they're all with us here tonight. All right, a little bit about NCWSA. We were established as a special purpose district of the state of South Carolina in 1963. We're governed by a 7-member board of directors. Our operations and debt service are funded by water and sewer revenue. And we provide residential water service to approximately 12,000 people and right at 290 commercial and industrial establishments. A little bit about what we're talking about tonight is the Lake Murray Water Treatment Plant. Lake Murray Water Plant is located on Hams Landing Road in Prosperity. Phase 1 was completed in 2004. 2004 was a 1.0 million gallon per day treatment plant was constructed, $3.3 million, and that project was funded solely by Newberry County Water and Sewer. In 2014, the plant was upgraded with a 1 MGD treatment train upgrade for $2.8 million, and that was a CPSC project. So the current water treatment capacity is 2 million gallons per day. But due to some pumping capacity and pipe restrictions, our deliverable capacity is 1.3 MGD. All right, so in preparing our project for our submission, we did a preliminary engineering report. It was completed by Mr. Don Franklin with Black and Veatch and his staff. And the results of that report, in order to get to a firm 2 MGD capacity, we need to upgrade the existing finished water pump station, and this is located at the water plant. We need to upgrade the existing Macedonia Church Road booster station and install a new transmission main. Project description, you've got two 2.0 million gallon a day finished water pumps at the Lake Murray plant, 2 million gallon a day pumps at Macedonia Church Road booster station, 23,100 linear feet of 20-inch water main on Macedonia Church Road, and 9,700 linear feet of 16-inch main on Mount Pilgrim Church Road. This is a diagram, it's a pretty good map kind of showing you how everything's currently pumping and what's being proposed. But Lake Murray Treatment Facility will be down in here. We pump from that facility up to Macedonia Church Road booster station. If y'all have ever been in that area, that's the tank that's got the American flag on it, going down Macedonia Church Road. From there, our water is pumped through a 12-inch main along Siebert Road, then along Bethel Church, and a 12-inch along 391. This is our control tank, which is located at the corner of 391 and Mount Pilgrim Church Road. The proposed project is to upgrade the pump station at the plant, upgrade the pump station at Macedonia, and install a new 20-inch main along Macedonia Church Road. to the intersection of Mount Pilgrim. Then the installation of a 16-inch main along Mount Pilgrim. At this intersection, water can either go towards the gen tank, which is our control tank, or it can go through an existing 16 that goes out toward Mid-Carolina High School and Georgia Pacific Corporation. So regarding site acquisition land use, we just wanted to note that all infrastructure will be installed on either on NCWSA existing parcels or on SCDOT right-of-way. The existing parcels do have capacity to accommodate future expansion. And the proposed pumps will utilize existing three-phase power, so we don't have to do any extension of power. Minimal clearing and grading is required. And we do not anticipate any negative spillover effects from, these are existing, our pump stations are existing stations, and don't anticipate any negative spillover effects. These are the following permits that will have to be obtained, and these are all standard permits that we would obtain for any line job. There's nothing out of the ordinary here. Encroachment permit, sediment erosion control, DHEC construction, and all these permitting fees are included in the engineering, legal, and admin costs as provided in the submittal. An environmental assessment will not be required. All right, and the pumping upgrade at the water treatment plant is estimated right at $442,000. Pumping upgrade at Macedonia Booster Station right at $432,000. And the transmission main right at $3.9 million. For a total project cost of $4.7 million. You can see our project schedule. These projects take quite a time to from initiation to completion. If we started with requests for engineering proposals in January 17, our anticipated completion date would be in September of 19. So it does take quite some time to complete. Project submission, of course, the authority would agree to own, operate, and maintain all the proposed infrastructure. And there will be no cost, no recurring expenses to Newberry County associated with the project. In other words, any type of operational expense with this project, O&M, power cost, recurring depreciation expense will all be incurred by NCWSA. Cost overruns will be funded with NCWSA reserve funding. All right, at this time, I would like to introduce Mr. Rick Farmer, our Economic Development Director. He'd like to say a few things regarding how this project can affect economic development activity in the county.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the Commission. Thank you so much for giving us the time here. Brent asked me to be here to sort of lend my voice and support as to something you probably all instinctively know, and that's that economic development just doesn't happen in the absence of decent public infrastructure, roads, water, sewer, that kind of thing. So we put together a few slides just to sort of lay this out. It's the lifeblood of economic development. There was once a time when you could just give a promise to an industry that you would get the water or the road or the sewer there. It doesn't work anymore. The bar has been raised for everybody, and there's a new concept that we call site certification today that kind of plays into Brent's request here. We'll explain that just a little bit more. Again, it has to be in place before economic development happens. There's just too much competition for an industry to risk his development on a promise. And if he knows that you've already got the adequate water and sewer in the line, then it's not a promise you're dealing with there. It's something that's physically in the ground. Site selection. Everybody does economic development nowadays. And not only that, everybody is in an alliance. And it's just an incredibly competitive field. And the bar constantly keeps getting raised in what makes your community attractive for economic development. Obviously, it's critical that we're constantly in an evolving cycle of job creation. Jobs are naturally, organically going to go away. They're also going to organically grow to some extent. What we do is try to strategically lure capital investment and job creation, and public infrastructure is absolutely critical to everything we do. The jobs we're talking about in manufacturing typically are better than retail and service sector jobs. So that's the reason why most counties, most communities try to attract manufacturing jobs as opposed to retail jobs. Now some do really chase the retail jobs, but they're really redistributing local wealth as opposed to creating local wealth, which is what manufacturing tends to do. And obviously, the more industries we have here, the more that we have to share our local tax burden and pay property taxes to the different public service entities. Mid-Carolina Commerce Park is at the intersection of South Carolina 773 and I-26. Most of you are probably familiar with it. It's right across the highway from the golf course. This is our emerging industrial park. The county has invested, well, the county, the state, and some partners, some allies have invested to date $12 million in this park, including a speculative building. We still do not have our first tenant there, but we do have water and sewer capacities. But we have pretty much minimal water and sewer capacities there now. It is good for most industries, but we're going to lose out on some opportunities just because we don't have more. And then, of course, there's the concept of certification. A certified site is one in which significant due diligence has been done. They've already looked for endangered species. They've done geotechnical borings to make sure that there's not too much rock in the soil, that it can be developed. One of the reasons Brent needs a increased water expansion is because he has to keep some of his available allotment ready for industry. And we need 600,000 per day of excess capacity to retain our site certification. And that's something we're meeting today, but we're barely meeting that. And that's basically all I had from an economic development standpoint, and I'll want to turn it back to Brent for a little bit more on his needed capacity.
Just wanted to show you, this is some of the hurdles we face when we're talking about maintaining capacity for industrial development. This chart is showing this 2.3 million gallons per day includes 1.3 deliverable capacity from the authority, a 1 million gallon a day water purchase contract with the city of Newberry. And you see where we're trying to get to tonight is this 3 million gallon a day mark. This is current average day demand, peak day demand, and then this shows you what kind of impact it has with us having to retain 600,000 gallons a day to retain capacity for industrial customers looking to locate in Newberry County. And so you can see that these lines are going to cross in the year 2021. Which, as we said, you know, if the CPST went through, we would be sometime, we're in 2019 finishing up our job. So these things are going to tighten up very quickly, and you can see how much one industry can change this line. This is the impact of Kisswire, which we're extremely grateful to have Kisswire in the county. But as they grow and expand, I mean, this chart is assuming no additional industrial customers coming online during this period of time. So this is what we're trying to accomplish, is to maintain site certification at the Commerce Park so that we can attract industrial customers to Newberry County. All right, just a few anticipated questions and concerns. I know y'all are probably interested, have we looked into additional funding sources? And unfortunately, the grant funds through Rural Infrastructure Authority, USDA, are either unavailable or limited for this type construction. Unfortunately, our service area as a whole is not deemed distressed in the eyes of the Rural Infrastructure Authority. There are some counties in the state that are deemed distressed, and they have a better shot at getting the grant funding than we do. We've got individual census tracts in Newberry County that are deemed distressed, but unfortunately none of this infrastructure, the water treatment facility, nor the Commerce Park will fall into those census tracts. And of course, our borrowing capacity is limited by our water and sewer revenue. This is a question, is the project scalable? Can it be broken up? Absolutely. I mean, the project can be divided into 3 phases, and all these phases, they are all needed to address the capacity needs, but it can be divided. And these detailed cost estimates are provided in your packages. In other words, as it's broken up into the transmission main and the individual pumping upgrades. What does this project accomplish? It allows NCWSA to utilize 100% of our treatment capacity. In other words, if you can treat 2 million gallons a day, you want to be able to pump that 2 million gallons a day into the system. What we've got now is simply like pumping through a straw, if you can imagine that. And the transmission main would allow that restriction to go away. We would have improved efficiency, which would reduce our cost of production and provide rate stabilization. And it would allow us to maintain certification at the Commerce Park. Who does this project benefit? Well, it reduces the burden on the NCWSA customer base to fund infrastructure for economic development. So instead of the customer base providing these big blocks of capacity, then it would spread this out through the CPST. And economic development activity obviously would benefit everyone in Newberry County. All right, at this time, I'll be glad to take any questions. I also have Daniel Quattlebaum, our assistant manager, with us, Don Franklin, and Mr. Farmer. We'll be glad to address any questions at this time.
Commission members, if not, you did indicate 2 points to bring out. In each project, we have asked about phase-ins.
Yes, sir.
Now, your phase-in, would that be your, you say it's divided in 3. Without me looking, is it equally divided, or how is it done?
No, sir. It's divided in a transmission main, and then each pump station upgrade is divided out. And that would be, I've got it here in 1 second. It would be the upgrade at the Lake Murray Water Treatment Plant right at $442,000, the Macedonia Booster Station at $432,000, and then the transmission main at 3.8, close to 3.9. So the project could be phased in those individual divisions. What I've tried to, unfortunately, with the transmission main, it's either an all or nothing shot, because it wouldn't do us any good to have a transmission main, in other words, halfway up Macedonia Church Road. It would have to go, as far as the reason we broke it up into those 3 phases, the transmission main would have to be installed complete.
And that's the biggest part of the project.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Well, we all realize how important infrastructure is. If you do not get all of the money to do your project, could you sell bonds? Can you sell bonds or not?
We could issue revenue bonds to obtain, you use some borrowing capacity maybe to finish the project if it was if it wasn't a large amount. But yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
You mentioned those 3 phases. I don't think we have that
I'm
in
sorry.
our paperwork.
Okay, I think it's in the.
It's on the second
It
page.
is?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yes, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Is
It's
there
in there,
either
but it's
one?
also in the submittal. You'll see 3 cost estimates from Black and Veatch. 3 spreadsheets right there. Those 3 spreadsheets right there. Yes, ma'am, it's those 3 spreadsheets right there.
Do you need the pumping upgrades first before the main, I'm assuming?
Really, the main is the most critical.
Okay.
The main is the most critical portion of the job.
Do the pumping upgrades, you still pushing it through a straw.
Still pushing it through a straw, absolutely. The pumping upgrades wouldn't be able to do anything for us without the main. That is correct. Now, what the larger line would do, if it was installed ahead of time, then you would get some increased capacity in pumping with the existing pumps, because you would reduce your friction loss having the larger pipe. So you would actually gain some pumping capacity, not the full 2 MGD, but you would gain some. So the line would have to be the initial part of the project. Yes, sir.
Did you have a projection of these funds and this money right here in the breakdown? Did you have a projection over a number of years? You know, this is a 7-year project like all the 1 cent solutions have been. Is this for 7 years, or are you looking down the road for future past that 7-year span? Because we're primarily talking about some of the same projects we had before, you know, just upgrading some of it.
Yes, sir. Now, the transmission main would be sized to be a permanent install. So the ultimate build out of the Lake Murray plant is 6 MGD. And so it would be designed, that's one of those projects you don't want to put in the ground but once. And so it would be designed to accommodate current and future needs. Yes, sir.
I think you said September 2019.
September 2019 would be an anticipated completion time. That's correct. That's assuming we got started in January 17. Yes, sir.
What did y'all place the most emphasis on? I know you've had Mr. Farmer here with economic development. Was it that, or was it growth besides economic? Of people, housing?
Yes, sir. I mean, economic development is where we can't attract these industrial customers from Newberry County unless we have this type of capacity available to serve. And so that's where, yes, we're placing our emphasis.
That didn't directly answer my question. What I'm saying is, what emphasis was placed most on that, people or economic growth, or a combination of both, or what? Because I don't know how much more the lake area can hold, but everything, both of your projects are in that area. And I know the Commerce Park is there, has been there.
Yes, sir.
It
Yes,
will
sir.
be there.
And we look for continued growth residential-wise, but the residential growth, is we're seeing somewhere in the neighborhood of 2.5–3% growth. I'll be honest with you, one of these industries lands comes to town, you know, with the Kisswire project, we're talking about 100,000 gallons a day. That's could be equated to, a lot of houses. I mean, so really the bulk of this is designed to accommodate both residential, commercial growth, but more so industrial as well.
Did you say with each dollar that's spent, a return is $1.33?
That was a statistic provided by the U.S. Bureau of Economics, I think. Where's Mr. Farmer at?
Bureau of Economic Analysis.
Yes, and that was there's analysis that have been done to show that every dollar invested in industry in a community results in about $1.33 in economic growth, and that's actually, I researched that a little bit, and that's very conservative. I think Mr. Farmer would agree with me on that.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
It's
it's
very
very
conservative to me.
Yes, it's extremely conservative. So we absolutely want to do everything we can to be prepared for industrial development, and to be able to respond positively when we get a request for information through Mr. Farmer.
Any other questions? Here none, that completes the first project, and I believe your next